My guest was the 2007 SEC Player of the Year at Tennessee. He made an absolutely amazing comeback this season after being diagnosed with cancer. I'm joined by Chris Lofton. Chris, it is great to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I appreciate you having me.
No, it's good to have you, Chris. Take me back to March of '07, if you would. School officials pulled you and your parents aside and said that a random drug test had showed that you may have cancer. What in the world goes through your mind when you hear that word, cancer?
Well, at first, when I first was diagnosed, the first thing that came to mind was, I was dying, that something bad has happened and, I don't have time to live.
As you start to kind of get your arms around it, what do you think? I mean, were you asking yourself, why me? Or how were you able to get to a place where you could get after this and attack it?
Yeah, just like you said, the first thing in my mind was, why me? What have I done? And, what have I done to deserve this? Then, my parents and, other people put me in perspective and said that, this may help me. This may be this can be a positive, to help other people, when it's all over with.
So how many people knew exactly what you were dealing with and what you were facing?
It was just my mom and dad, my coaching staff, and the AD and assistant AD at the University of Tennessee, really.
So this was absolutely a private matter. Why did you decide to address this privately and go about dealing with it in such a manner?
I just didn't want, no excuses for me during the season, and just didn't feel like it was time to put it out there. I didn't think it was a great time for me to do it. I wanted to wait till after my senior year, after the season was over, and, do it and maybe encourage somebody, to help somebody that was battling cancer to get through it.
What about that senior year? Was there any discussion about redshirting? Did you give that any thought whatsoever?
Yes, Coach brought me in after about 6 or 7 games and asked me if I wanted a redshirt. He thought it would be best for me. But, I thought about it, and, I just didn't want to do it. I just wanted to go ahead and, and fight it out and just continue to play basketball and try to help my team win.
I wonder, because of your athletic background, did that help you at all? Or, frankly, is cancer a totally different thing? This isn't a knee. It's not a shoulder. Nothing you had gone through, even competitively, could prepare you for something like this.
Yeah, I think, being an athlete really helped me because, I've always, tried to defy the odds. And, this just was another step, another obstacle in my path. So, I just tried so hard to beat it, and, I did, and, now I'm here.
So when you're out there and you had lost 15 pounds and you could tell things weren't quite right, we didn't know, probably your teammates didn't know. In fact, did any of your teammates say, hey, Chris, what's going on? Are you all right?
Not to my face, but I'm sure behind my back, people was like, what's going on with Chris? What's going on? He's not the same player. I'm sure that, that was a question, around my teammates and around University of Tennessee.
Chris, that's an enormous burden. That's an enormous amount of stress for anybody to carry around, much less a young man, and have somebody compete at the high level that you continue to compete at. How were you able to do that?
It was just, my mom and dad, were close to me at this time. I talked to them every day through it. I struggled a lot during the season, and, it was just a tough time for me. I just, I felt like being all alone and I just was all by myself, and it was just my mom and dad who was always there for me. And, I think our relationships have grown stronger since then.
I was going to say, they were there for you, but they weren't physically there. In fact, your father said the toughest thing of all, when he was going through it and he had to get his treatment, we couldn't be there physically with Chris. Did you feel like you were all alone? What was it like not to have your parents there for you physically to go through it?
I told them to stay back in Kentucky because, I had the cancer, and, I wanted to deal with it and get through it by myself. It was just something I wanted to do, and I did.
And you did. Talk about coming out. Was it difficult for you to decide, all right, I'm going to come forth and I'm going to tell this story?
Yeah, it really was, because at first, I was kind of a little embarrassed about it. I didn't want anybody to know. But, then as the season went along and I kept hearing stories about cancer and, how people go through it and are sad, I thought maybe that my story would maybe, help somebody, just when they're diagnosed, just realize that it's not the end of the world, that you can beat it.
Yeah, I would imagine since you've come forward, you've probably had all sorts of feedback, cards, letters, emails, telephone calls. What's the reaction been like since you started to tell your story?
It's been a lot. I get so many emails a day now. I got people wanting to write a book about me. It's been crazy lately.
So how are you doing right now physically?
I'm doing a lot better. I feel better than I've ever felt. you know, I felt a lot better than I did during the season. You know, I guess, you know, after the season was over, I took a couple weeks off and just began working out. And now I feel great. You know, I feel like I'm getting in better shape, and I'm moving a lot better now.
All right, so how do you feel about your NBA draft prospects right now?
And I'll have to see. I hope June 26th comes. I'll be happy. I'll be smiling.
Chris Lofton, it's an amazing story. Chris, nice of you to come on the show and share it with us. Good luck with you, and I'll run you down again soon. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Remember, you can check out Jim Roman's Burning each weekday at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific on ESPN. I will see you then.